What's up and what's good? I'm Brello coming at you again here with a little bit of fantasy football talk here today. So, really, all I want to do is just kind of look at some options for contending teams on what they could use, what they could buy. Today is February 15th, so I'm not advocating to make any trades right now for a contender. Really, you want to wait till towards the end of preseason to maybe even a few weeks into the actual season, just so you know for sure if you are going to be contending. Right now, we're really just looking at a few guys, two at each position or so, I would say, just for targets to keep in mind and look at as the offseason progresses. Obviously, injuries do happen throughout this time here, so really don't want to try to sell the farm or anything. Really, just very attainable pieces, what we're looking at today. So, starting off with the quarterback positions, I have two different options for this here. One option is going to be actually legit quarterback you're expecting to start for the year. Another option is just going to be dart throw possibilities, just taking a chance on. So, for these two quarterbacks, the going rate is give or take about a 2026 late first round pick. I think both of these are pretty sharp trades. This one might be a little hard to do with the George Pickens move now, but Dak Prescott is my first quarterback option to try to trade for. He's tied to a very good receiving core, at least for this year. I am assuming that the Cowboys are going to re sign Pickens, but it's kind of like a 1 year prove it deal, really. So it's really up to him. Worst case, I mean, they can always just draft another receiver in this upcoming class. This past 2025 draft class, they said receiver was not really the strong suit here. Time will tell there, but we'll see. My other option for QB for first round capital is going to be Jared Goff. Now, this one is a little interesting, I would say, because I feel like the sentiment for most Lions is try to get away from them or not really touch them all that much just because of the uncertainty with Ben Johnson now gone coaching the Bears. I like a little bit of risk with this here, and I think it's kind of factored just slightly into the price of Jared Goff. Now, both of these quarterbacks are similar age. I think Goff is 30, Dak might be 31, 32, or something around there. They still have a few years in front of them for sure. So it's not just like a 1 year rental here or anything. With that, I mean, Jared Goff, the sentiment was he was going to be a good QB, then he was going to be a bust, and now he's a really good QB again. I don't think he's really going to dip all that much, so I think he's going to stay at that first round value. So if you need a QB for this year, you can just send away a first for him. Worst case, if it's kind of falling apart, some other contender might need a QB if their injury happens to them. So you really never know. Now, going over to dart throw quarterbacks, this is probably risky here, I would say. Maybe it's worth to take a shot on now before they actually land where they're going to land, or possibly get traded or moved here. My first option is going to be none other than Covito Aaron Rodgers. Really, I mean, the going rate for him is kind of like a fourth round pick right now. And I mean, fourth round picks rarely hit, I would say. Once in a blue moon, you might get a guy like Puka Nakua in there in the fourth round to hit on. Ramondre Stevenson from several years ago, maybe another guy to kind of hit on. But other than that, I mean, really they're just kind of depth options for you. They're one of those like kind of fun players that, oh, it's nice to hold on to. But really at the end of the day, more times than not, they turn into roster cloggers, and you really don't want your team littered with that on the bottom. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is not sticking around forever here either, but maybe for like a 1, maybe 2 more year rental, he could be a good option to have there. There are still a few QB needy teams. The Steelers have been linked to him for the past few months at this point, and I still think he's probably going to land there. The Saints, they are now a QB needy team with the news of Derek Carr retiring earlier this week or at the tail end of last week as well. And this kind of plays into the next QB that I have available here as well. Pretty much a similar cost for this individual, Jameis Winston, who did have a stint actually in New Orleans for a little bit there. Obviously, he's on the Giants right now. As of right this second, it looks like Russell Wilson is the starter with Jameis as a backup option and then Jackson Dart as the QB3. I think they still have Tommy DeVito technically, but nonetheless, I think at least Russ or Jameis Winston is going to be moved at the end of the day here. I am betting it is going to be Jameis Winston. There really is no need for two veteran QBs and Jackson Dart there. I think first and foremost they're going to end up cutting Tommy DeVito, but other than that, I don't think they're going to hold on to two veteran QBs. Again, the Steelers are a needy QB team. The Saints are a needy QB team. There's injuries that do happen as well, so really it's just kind of wait and see. So for the QB dart throw, maybe it's worthwhile to try to do that now just to take that chance. Yes, there is going to be risk involved with this, but again, it's just a fourth round pick. It's nothing much, nothing detrimental, not going to set you back or anything. Now, going over to the running back position here, again, this I am adamant on not trying to make a trade for right now just because of injuries. Really, we're not going to know what the running back landscape looks like for a lot of teams here until we get closer to preseason and obviously a couple weeks in. Then we can really solidify and say what timeshares are going to look like, snap counts are going to look like, everything like that. But these are two guys I've identified that I do want to try to target a little bit. Again, maybe throw a couple feelers out there, but not go too heavy on these guys until probably training camp is wrapping up and beginning of preseason or so. So with that, my number one running back target here is Javonte Williams. He is on the Cowboys. I believe he does have a 1 year deal with them at this point, so it's kind of like a prove it year for him. He started off his career very good, gained a lot of traction, a lot of value, and then he had a major devastating knee injury. It did take him quite a while to recover. He did kind of bounce back slightly last year. I really don't think the Broncos had all that great of an offensive line. There's analytical people out there that will say they were a top five unit, top five rushing unit. But really, I mean, they didn't have any receiving threat out there. So people were able to stack the box against this team and really dare Bo Nix to throw. Obviously, it kind of worked out a little bit there, but they still were not a powerhouse offense. I'm willing to take a bet that Javonte Williams is going to get back to maybe 90 to 95% form of where he once was, and that's still going to end up being a top 15 running back in this league here. The going rate for Javonte right now does look like it's in between a late second and early third value. So if you're able to send a second, possibly get a 2027 fourth round pick back in a deal, that's something that might be worthwhile here. Again, it is a little risky to do this now, but I think this out of every skill position player, this one might be worth doing now. He could gain in value. He could lose value with I believe Jaden Blue, the rookie fifth round pick, is on this team as well. He could have a explosive rookie mini camp or off season training or anything like that. You guys know how viral clips work. There's a couple plays that might happen in practice. They just happen to be caught on camera. The guy explodes in value with that. So maybe Javonte even dips a little bit, or he's that guy that explodes in value for a good clip as well. The other running back I want to mention here, this one's a little bit controversial. A lot of people don't like him with the rookie coming into play on his team, but I'm going after Najee Harris as well. The reason being, he is in a run first offense here in the Chargers at this point in his career. He's on another 1 year prove it deal. He does have a Marion Hampton coming in. I think it's going to be more so of a split workload 50-50 throughout the whole year, not just the first couple weeks or so. Najee is a bell cow running back. He might not be uber efficient at this point in his career, but he's still good enough, I would say. The going rate for Najee is pretty much right in line with Javonte Williams. As of right now, it looks like Najee Harris is ranked number 43 running back on Keep Trade Cut, and Javonte Williams is number 44 on Keep Trade Cut here. So really that does equate to about a late second round pick. Maybe you can try to get a fourth kickback in a future year or so. But if you are already projecting to be a contender, you already kind of bake into the fact that you're going to have a late first, late second, late third, late fourth. Maybe it's worthwhile to do this. Who knows? Now looking at the wide receiver position, there are two names here that I want to talk about. One is kind of a popular pick, and one is a not so popular pick. First, we'll start with a popular one here and go with Juwan Jennings. Now, Jennings is ranked number 50 wide receiver on Keep Trade Cut at this point in his career as well. I believe he is 27 years old. I think he will have a couple decent years on the 49ers, but I don't think he's ever going to be the number one receiver for them. I think for this year, while they don't necessarily have a number one, it's going to be the most fruitful for him. There's going to be a lot of distribution of targets between Kittle, between Jennings, between Pearsall, and maybe a couple other guys on their team as well. Obviously, they have McCaffrey. They had a running back they picked in the fourth round as well. So they're really kind of retooling and reloading this offense. So why not try to get in while the foundation is being built? Because Jawan Jennings is a little bit older, I mean, people are going to be a little bit skeptical about him, I would say. But at the same time, I mean, he did have a breakout year this past year in 2024. I believe he did get hurt and was down for maybe 2 or 3 games or so, and he was really close to getting that 1,000-yard receiving mark that everyone's so desperately after. I think easily it was going to be attainable if he didn't get an injury there. My other wide receiver, I want to target a little bit lower in value, but it's still within like the same tier, one tier below in Keep Trade Cut, and that's going to be Calvin Ridley. Now, I am a little bit higher on Cam Ward. I think he is going to be a franchise level quarterback. I think he's going to be a franchise cornerstone for this team. All offseason, the Titans were saying they really wanted to draft a difference maker, an elite player, a blue collar, blue chip kind of player on their team, and that ended up being Cam Ward. This quarterback class definitely did not have the love that 2024 had or 2023 had. It kind of reminded us of like the Kenny Pickett draft where there ended up being just one first round pick and then everyone else was just kind of a dud. I don't think that's the case. I think there are a few good quarterbacks in this class. Cam Ward, obviously, being one of them. Um, I think Jackson Dart will be okay as well. Tyler Shuck, I mean, maybe, but I feel like he's not going to start and will probably end up getting replaced next year anyway. But regardless, there is a franchise level quarterback in Tennessee, and that is Cam Ward. With that, Calvin Ridley does profile as the number one receiving option for Cam Ward here. It's not just him though. There's other mouths to feed. Yes, they are a little bit older, but Tyler Lockett is there. Obviously, you can see I'm a Seahawk fan. I think Tyler is a very underrated wide receiver, but I think he's definitely behind his prime at this point. He definitely profiles as a slot kind of guy to come in there, get the nitty gritty yards. He doesn't really take big hits as well. He gives himself up before that happens. So I think because of that, he is able to play for another couple years and still be pretty productive. He might have lost a step or two in his day, but he still has great hands. He still has field awareness and knows where to go, how to beat zone coverage and get in those holes. I think he can still beat man coverage pretty easily as well. But going back to Calvin Ridley, and Calvin is 30, so he doesn't have a whole bunch of more years in front of him of production, but he did also miss a couple years with some, I believe it was like mental illness, possibly going into like some gambling issues or anything like that. But regardless, he was out of the league for a little bit, coming back into it. People did expect him to kind of pick up right where he left off in Jacksonville, and really, unfortunately, that just didn't happen. So I think because of that, people just kind of soured on him and just dropped him down the rankings, dropped him down the rankings. He had to go on page 2 of all wide receivers just to see this guy here. At one point in time, he was viewed as a top 10 wide receiver playing next to Julio Jones here. So really, I think he's a good option to buy. He's not going to be there forever. I don't think they'll probably end up moving off of Calvin Ridley, but for this current year, I think it's definitely worthwhile sending possibly what looks like a late third and fourth packaged in together to try to get him. Maybe you can try to get a fourth round pick in the future year back or some fab dollars or maybe one of these dart throw quarterbacks just get thrown in on that deal and maybe something like that works there. I think he is worth the risk. Again, going back to the overall sentiment, maybe not send a ton of offers out there, but just put a couple feelers and see what sort of feedback you get back. With that, we are going to move over to the tight end position here. We're going to start off with what I think is still an elite level tight end, but you're getting pennies on the dollar for him, and that is going to be Mark Andrews. I feel like the market has just completely soured on this guy here. partly because Isaiah Likely is on this team on the Ravens. People just want to see Isaiah Likely on the field. He looks to be a little bit more explosive, and overall, I mean, he's just more fun of a prospect. At least that's what the overall consensus feels like it is. But because of that, it's really pushing down Mark Andrews. Looking over at Keep Trade Cuts value, it looks like Mark Andrews is going to be tight end number 13. So backup tight end ranking, really. You can get this guy pretty easily, I think, for a second round pick. Even if your pick projects to be a late, I think you can make that work. Maybe you have to add a little bit, be creative, and try to send like a 3 for 2 or 2 for 1, get another kind of role player, bench player on your lineup, get it off and get it into this deal. Maybe someone with just a little bit of training camp buzz or something could probably get that done. Last year, I mean, that profiled as a guy like Jalen Coker, but you don't want to send Coker off for him. I think Coker does have a little bit of an opportunity to, be that wide receiver too, behind Tetrana McMillan. But a guy similar to that, like a Jake Bobo on the Seahawks, that's just one of the names that's coming to mind there. But going back, I mean, Mark Andrews is an elite level tight end. There was talk on him getting an extension. I don't think that has happened as of yet. There was also talk of him being traded, but it doesn't really look like the Ravens are going to be trading one of their franchise level assets if they're going to be trying to make a Super Bowl push here. It just does not make sense to do. So I think they're going to run him back. The Ravens didn't really address receiver in the draft either. I mean, they did bring in DeAndre Hopkins to come in and help with Zay Flowers, but they could utilize Isaiah Likely as a receiver like they did a little bit last year and still have Mark Andrews kind of come more hand on the dirt, nitty gritty kind of plays there. And that's what he's better at than Isaiah Likely is. He's a better true tight end. Isaiah Likely is just a little bit better of an athlete. And again, I think that's why for fantasy purposes, people are just really hoping Isaiah Likely just takes that next step. But he just has never done that. So you just can't really rely on this. So that's why I think Mark Andrews is a really good option here. Now, going over to the last player I wanted to talk about today, another tight end, somewhat similar of a ranking, different environment altogether. That's going to be none other than Jake Ferguson. Now, I do have Jake Ferguson in quite a few of my leagues, so I do have a little bit bias when I say he is a contending asset here, but I really think he is. With the recent trade of George Pickens coming in to the Cowboys, it does look like he's going to be an underneath kind of guy. I think he's going to eat pretty well. He's not going to have double coverage. He's not going to be the second option for receiving at this point, which is good because he can take those kind of dump off passes, get a few more yards, get that first down when it's needed, probably end up catching more balls this year. Maybe his yards does go up a little bit from that too, just because they were not all that great this past year. He was hurt for a few games as well, so that's kind of baked in too. Um, Going into the rookie draft, I actually was thinking that the Cowboys were going to draft Tyler Warren if he was available. Obviously, they didn't. They went with a different Tyler at offensive line. But I think that this is a pretty nifty and under the radar kind of guy to get on your team. Again, the going rate for him is going to be a second round pick. Maybe you can try to bundle something and get a kickback future pick in there somewhere. But I do think that overall, Jake Ferguson is going to be a really good asset to have if you're a contender. Well, thanks for coming, guys. I mean, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today. Really, just want to preference this one more time, not to make all these deals right now. It is early in the process. Again, it is May 15th as I'm recording this, and you probably are seeing this as well. So, really, that's just kind of the guys I'm targeting right now. Maybe this can change with a little bit of injury buzz or just camp or anything like that. But yeah, good luck out there, gents. Hopefully, we all win our leagues and make some money.